Hi, it's Kip and Bates here, and today I want to set some groundwork for discussions I'm going to have about directed acyclic graphs in the near future. And the thing I want to discuss is the concept of ordering things, and by that I mean putting them in order, not by asking for a meal in a restaurant. Ordering is something that crops up in mathematics, in that you have, for example, a function such as less than, and that can be used to place items in order. However, some sets of objects cannot be placed in order because there's no clear rule for how to do that, and then you end up having to impose an arbitrary one. And I'll give a real world example. Any of you who've used something like Excel or OpenOffice Calc will know that sometimes you have a table of data and you want to sort it, and you pick a column on which you're going to sort. So let's imagine you have an Excel sheet where you have the first row is a time at which something happens, the second row is the name of the person who did the action, and the third thing is the amount of money they spent at that time. So it's kind of a budgeting spreadsheet where you're looking at people's expenditures, and you can order that by time. You select the time column and you say sort, and you can now go historically through when things were spent, and then look at who spent the money and how much they spent. But then you have a problem if, say, Alice spent €100 at midday on the 25th of August, and Bob spent €1,000 at exactly the same time. Suddenly, although you have an order of all these rows, Excel will just kind of pick how it's going to sort those two transactions because they both occurred at the same time. So time is now no longer enough to order it. And then you have to make an arbitrary decision. Are we now going to sort those two transactions by the alphabetical sorting on Alice and Bob's name, i.e. Alice's transaction will come first and Bob's will come second, or are we going to sort them based on the amount that they spend, and maybe we'll do that on the basis of whichever transaction is bigger comes first. In that case, Bob's €1,000 expenditure will come before Alice's €100 expenditure. And the reason why ordering is important in blockchains and DAGs is that that's how you determine whether a particular transaction is valid or whether it's a double spend. If there are two transactions trying to spend the same token or cryptocurrency, then only one of them can be correct because you can't spend it twice. The whole idea of these systems is to avoid this double spend problem, and as a result you need some kind of way of ordering transactions so that you can determine which of two duplicate transactions is valid and which one is invalid. And actually that's kind of what the proof of work building blocks and adding them to the blockchain stuff of Bitcoin actually does. It sets up a timeline of transactions that everybody agrees on so that you can determine that these transactions are all valid, and anything that goes against that main timeline of cryptocurrency expenditure is invalid, and those transactions get thrown away. Now, in the next video I'm going to talk a bit about the issue that DAGs face, which is that unlike a blockchain where you have this linear one block every 10 minutes in Bitcoin, say, in DAGs transactions arrive at all sorts of times and they connect in to not a single linear chain but a sort of web, an interweaving multiple chains that kind of connect and disconnect and reconnect. Well, actually they don't disconnect, but all sorts of subchains are connecting in, and you end up with a sort of a web going back to the initial Genesis transaction. And I think some of that stuff's quite interesting, so I'm looking forward to talking about that in the near future. But for now, hopefully you have a better idea about ordering and partial ordering, and how the problem that blockchains and DAGs face is to come up with a good method for turning a partial ordering into an absolute ordering so that you can determine which transactions are valid and which ones are not. Thanks for listening. See you in the next video soon. Bye for now.